today we will discuss ionic compounds. Ionic compounds are bonds between two or more elements in which the elements gain or lose electrons. Today we're going to focus on writing the chemical formula and naming the compound using the chemical formula. So today our first feature is going to be writing that chemical formula when it gives you a name. So we have two examples up here we'll work through, and then once we're done with that we'll go through and make sure we know how to write the names. When you do name these compounds, you do not need prefixes. A lot of people messed that up before. We do not need prefixes on these. So instead of using prefixes, anytime you recognize it as an ionic compound, that's when we would have a metal as your first one. Those metals are typically your cations. That's a good sign that it's going to be an ionic compound. So if you see that metal, that's a good sign that you should pull out your ion chart and use that ion chart to help you name it. So use that ion chart, no prefixes when you're naming ionic compounds. So if we look at this first one, you pull out your ion chart, you'd have magnesium and fluoride. So you start with magnesium, you go to your ion chart, and you should see magnesium is an Mg2+. So you get Mg2+ for magnesium, then you look at fluoride, F- for fluoride, and then the key part here is making sure you know how to write the formula. So we have these two ions. This is not your final answer though. So once you're here, you make sure to do this last step and get the final correct answer. So you take this 2, and it's going to come down to the bottom on the F, and it's a 1, a minus means a 1, so that 1 would come here. Reminder, we don't write those 1s, it's assumed to be a 1 as that by having that symbol, so we do not need to write that 1. So our final answer in this case, what we end up having is Mg. We don't need to value this since it's just a 1, F with a 2. That subscript 2 tells us we have 2 fluoride ions. So in this case, your chemical formula would be MgF2. Our second example deals with aluminum carbonate. So aluminum carbonate, our second one. Again, you would use your ion chart. So you recognize that aluminum's a metal. You see on your periodic table it's a metal. So you pull out your ion chart. No prefixes again. Don't put prefixes on ionic compounds. And then you write your chemical formula using your ion chart. So you find aluminum first. Aluminum is Al, and it's a 3+. So we get a 3+ for the aluminum. And then we have carbonate. That's a polyatomic ion. You have to use your ion chart to find it. You're not going to find carbonate on the periodic table. So you find carbonate on your ion chart. You just go down. It's right on your ion chart. And then you should see it's CO3 with a 2-. So we have CO3 2-. Again, just like before, we're going to take the charges and move those numerical values to the bottom. So this 3 comes down here. This 2 is going to come down here. Any number that's already on bottom, like this 3, you don't touch. It stays right where it's at. You don't move it at all. You don't need to worry about moving it. So in this case, we end up with Al, and now it's going to have the 2. So Al gets the 2 from the carbonate, and then we take the carbonate, we copy down as before, CO3, and this time to show that you have more than one CO3, since you have more than one element, remember you need parentheses, and then that value comes outside the parentheses, so we end up with a 3 there. So you end up with Al2, CO3 with a 3 subscript, meaning you have 3 CO3s. So that's aluminum carbonate. So make sure when you write your chemical formulas, you use that ion chart. So use your ion chart, make sure you're using this ion chart to help you out. And then when you go to cross the charge to the bottom of the other ion there. So the aluminum, that 3 goes to carbonate. The carbonate, that 2 goes down to your aluminum. So make sure you can identify how to write those chemical formulas. Once you get it into the hang of doing it the right way, it should flow pretty easily. Then next we're looking at, now you're given the formula and you want to go back and write the name. So these are ionic compounds. Identify it as ionic. This is metal as the first one. We have copper, zinc, calcium, those are all metals. So you should be looking again at your ion chart. Make sure you're using that ion chart. So then we come down to our first one, it's CuCl2. All you have to do is look at your ion chart. You find Cu. So the first one on there, Cu, you find Cu on your chart, and you see that it's copper. So you write down the first one would be copper. Then you find the second part, the Cl. So you find that Cl on your chart, and you see that the name is chloride. So you write that down. Again, these are ions. You're using your ion chart, so we do not need prefixes. So ionic compounds, no prefixes. Just use the name from the chart. Next one on there is zinc, is Zn, which is zinc. Again, that's a metal. So again, you're using your ion chart, and you want to write down the first one. The first one is zinc. Then the second one is SO4. You find that on your ion chart, SO4, and that tells us it's a sulfate. So you're just using your ion chart, looking on your chart to get those. Last one is Ca. You find calcium, you see it's a metal on the periodic table, so again it's ionic. So we're using our ion chart, and in this case we end up with Ca is calcium. And then the second part, PO4, you look on your chart, you see it's phosphate, PO4 is phosphate. You don't need a prefix, even though it's got 2 there, don't try to put a prefix on it. These are ionic compounds, that 2 came from the charge on the calcium. So we do not need a prefix on this one. So PO4, you see on your chart, is phosphate. So you write down phosphate. And that's all you have to do there. So when you write these names, make sure you do not use prefixes. If it starts with a metal, it's ionic. You do not need those prefixes. So make sure you leave those prefixes off on ionic compounds. Save yourself those points, and make sure you use no prefixes. Just use your chart to help you name ionic compounds. So writing the formulas, make sure you're crossing those charges to the bottom. You do not need to worry about the positive and negative signs when you go on bottom. You use that whole value, just the numerical values too. You notice we do not have any plus or minus on the top. Make sure you move your charges using your ion chart. It shouldn't be too tough, as long as you're using your chart, making sure you're using that chart to help you out. You got that tool to use, so use that wisely. Thank you for watching. That's our review of ionic compounds. Hopefully you helped improve your ionic compound formula writing and naming. Thank you.